Imagine this. A man walks up to the border of ancient China. He's old, he's tired, and he's done. Done with politics, done with civilization, done with the world of men. He's heading into the mountains to disappear forever. But at the gate, a border guard stops him. The guard recognizes the old man. He's the royal librarian, one of the wisest minds in the kingdom. And the guard says, "You can't leave, not without writing down what you know." So the old man sat down and wrote roughly 5,000 characters, not a word more, and then he walked through the gate and vanished from history. No one knows where he went, no one knows if he even existed, but those 5,000 characters, they became one of the most influential texts in human history. That old man was Laozi, and according to the history, what he wrote was the Dao De Jing. Let's start with the mystery, because Laozi might be the most famous philosopher who may never have existed. The name Laozi doesn't mean what you think. It's not a proper name. It literally means old master. That's it. It's a title, not an identity, like calling someone the professor and never learning their real name. The historian Sima Qian, writing some 400 to 500 years after Laozi supposedly lived, admitted he wasn't sure if Laozi was one person, several people, or a legend entirely. And honestly, it doesn't matter, because the Dao De Jing is not about its author. That's actually the whole point. Think about how different this is from the West. Christianity is inseparable from Christ. Islam is inseparable from Muhammad. But the Dao De Jing, the text practically erases its own author. The man who wrote about doing without doing left no biography, no portrait, no tomb. He practiced what he preached and then vanished. And that disappearance is itself the first lesson of the Dao De Jing. The greatest things leave no trace. So, what's actually in these 5,000 characters? Let me give you the core in 3 ideas. The first idea, the Tao. In episode 1, we talked about how the Chinese didn't need a creator, God. They had the way. But Laozi takes this further. He says the Tao is not just the way things work. It's the source of everything. But here's the twist. You can never fully define it. The very first line of the Dao De Jing is perhaps the most famous opening in all of Eastern philosophy. The Tao that can be spoken is not the constant Tao. Read that again. He's saying, the moment you put the truth into words, it stops being the whole truth. Language is a net, and the Tao is the ocean. You can catch some of it, but never all of it. This is a radically different starting point from Western philosophy, which spent centuries trying to define truth in increasingly precise language. Laozi says, stop. The deepest truths resist definition, and that's okay. The second idea, Wu Wei. This is probably the most misunderstood concept in all of Chinese philosophy. Wu Wei is usually translated as non-action or doing nothing. But that's wrong. Wu Wei doesn't mean doing nothing, it means not forcing. Imagine water flowing down a mountain. It doesn't push through rocks, it flows around them. It doesn't fight gravity, it follows it. And yet, given enough time, water carves through stone. That's Wu Wei, acting without forcing, moving without pushing, achieving without struggling. The third idea, softness overcomes hardness. Laozi writes, nothing in the world is softer than water, yet nothing is better at overcoming the hard. This is vintage Laozi, taking something everyone overlooks and revealing its hidden power. The soft overcomes the hard. The yielding defeats the rigid. The empty vessel is the most useful. Weakness, in Laozi's world, is the ultimate strength. What makes the Dao De Jing truly extraordinary is not any single idea, it's the way it thinks. The entire text is built on paradoxes, and these aren't contradictions, they're invitations to see the world differently. The usefulness of a pot comes from its emptiness. Think about that. A pot is valued for what it holds, but it can only hold things because it's empty inside. The value is in the void. The leader who speaks least is trusted most. The person who knows does not speak. The person who speaks does not know. To shrink something, you must first let it expand. To weaken something, you must first let it grow strong. Every line is a small explosion in your mind. Laozi isn't trying to tell you what to think. He's trying to flip the way you see. And he does it in the most compressed, poetic language imaginable. 81 chapters, 5,000 characters, no wasted breath. There's a reason this text has been translated more than almost any book in history, often said to be second only to the Bible. It speaks to something universal, something that every culture in every era eventually discovers, that the hardest truths are the simplest ones, and the most powerful forces are the ones you cannot see. Here's the thing about the Dao De Jing. It was written or compiled around 2,500 years ago, and yet walk into any bookstore today and you'll find it in the philosophy section, the self-help section, the business section, even the poetry section. Why? Because its ideas keep showing up in modern life, even when people don't realise they're quoting Laozi. When a therapist tells you that your nervous system is exhausted from trying to control everything and you just need to let things unfold, that's Wu Wei. When a martial arts master teaches you to use your opponent's force against them, that's the soft overcoming the hard. When a designer says less is more, that's the usefulness of emptiness. When a CEO reads about leading by not leading, that's Laozi, whether they know it or not. 2,500 years ago, a man no one can verify walked to a border no one can locate and wrote a text that was designed to erase itself. And yet it endures, because the Dao De Jing doesn't ask you to believe. It doesn't demand faith. It simply invites you to look at the world the way water looks at a mountain, patiently, and then to move through your life the way water moves through a landscape, without force, without rush, finding the path of least resistance, and in doing so, reshaping everything. The Dao De Jing ends with a line that could serve as Laozi's epitaph. The sage acts but does not compete. 5,000 characters, no argument, no proof, no demand for belief, just an old man's quiet observation that the universe already knows what it's doing, and maybe, just maybe, so do you. But Laozi wasn't the only voice in ancient China. There was another philosopher who believed almost the exact opposite, that the world needed rules, structure, and discipline. His name was Confucius, and the debate between these two men created a tension that still runs through every East Asian society today. That's next time. Thank you for watching or listening. Time is our only non-renewable resource, and I deeply appreciate you sharing yours with me today. If this brought you a moment of clarity or peace, then the time was well spent. Thank you for being part of this journey. I'll see you in the next one.